Welcome to TigerWolf. I'm Josh, and this is David.
Please be aware, this podcast contains strong language and spoilers.
Heroes in Crisis and
Transformers.
For today's Pagedom.
Odd variant for you, but there are reasons. All right, so issue 7 of 9. We're almost done. Almost. And it's finally starting to go exactly how I expected it to go. So it starts with Wally, who's dead, as far as we know, planting a dying rose in a field of flowers. And he zaps said rose assumptively with the Speed Force, and it goes back to being alive. And it's snippets of this intercut between him doing the 9-panel in front of the camera thing and Harley beating the hell out of Booster in front of Ted Kord and Barbara Gordon. Also, there's a little bit of Batman and the Flash trying to figure out where Booster and everyone is. So I want to touch on the Wally things first. Because he zaps the dying rose, it comes back to life. He zaps it again, and it starts to grow. It proceeds to grow into an entity that looks like poison ivy. He apologizes to the flower as it's growing for what he did to it, for what he did to everyone. And he apologizes now that even though this entity has just been given life, it must witness death. His death at the hands of himself.
Too fast to save the world. Maybe he was just getting ahead of himself.
Oh, the 9 panels in front of the camera thing, it's, week 2, week 3, type of things. It feels like Tom King is trying to write Wally as being wildly angry at Barry. And how, from the way I see it, he's pushing Wally to become a villain. Now, there could be some meta context here with the fact that one of the editors at DC supposedly doesn't like legacy characters like Wally, like Dick Grayson, like Jason Todd. He believes that Bruce Wayne should always be Batman. Always, regardless. No one else should wear the cowl. No one else should be named Batman. He is Batman. And if Dick Grayson puts on the cowl, that story shouldn't be canon. That story should not even exist. Because Batman is Bruce Wayne.
Okay.
So they kill off most of the characters in this book that got killed off were quote unquote legacy characters. Young sidekicks who are turning into their own type characters who may one day have taken over the mantle of whoever they were a sidekick to. Arsenal could one day have become Green Arrow.
So you think this is the artist's personal attack against?
I think it's one of the editors' attacks against the idea of legacy characters, and also a little bit of the fact that when DC Rebirth became a thing, when DC put it out, there was a wild fervent of, all right, DC, you did it right. When Jeff Johns, who wrote the original Rebirth opening, brought Wally West back into continuity. Fans loved it. And everyone inside the world of DC seemed to look at Wally and go, hey, you're right. Something has felt off. Something has felt wrong. It's been a while since we had hope, since we, felt like it was right. And you coming back, it feels like everything's going back to the way it should be. That's what the characters inside DC were saying. That's also what the people reading the comics were saying. Everyone praised Rebirth at bringing back old characters, reigniting old loves, the whole 9 yards. Returning DC back to what the fans wanted it to be, because most fans hated the New 52 run, which came after.
I mean, there has to be change. Otherwise, it literally is just going to be the same stories over and over again.
Yeah.
And it practically is already anyway.
It is, practically. I'm not discounting that.
Yeah, no, I'm not saying that you necessarily agree with this. I'm just saying that.
But I can see where some fans looked at the New 52 and didn't enjoy it. They literally went, okay, you know all those old stories you love? Superman having that awesome fight with Doomsday? Never happened. Batman fighting Bane, getting his back broken? Never happened.
I mean, it did. You could go and read it.
Continuity-wise, there are people who care about that. Yes, you have a problem with people who care about
continuity in comic books? Continuity in comic books, David.
Yes.
Continuity in comic books. Two things that don't go together.
Some companies do put strenuous work in making sure the continuity of their comics is solid.
And is DC one of those companies?
No. Neither is Marvel.
Then. Neither is Marvel. Yeah, that's fine.
But
the different retellings that we get with Marvel that people love, like
Old Man Logan,
or was it Extreme or whatever?
The Ultimate Universe.
Ultimate. Yeah. I'm totally a comic book guy. Yeah, like those are different versions of those heroes.
Yes.
Granted, most of them are the same technically people, but still.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know. I feel like moving on to the next generation would be an interesting step.
Yeah, I think that a lot of fans,
because
as much
nobody fucking does that ever in anything.
As much as the fans, myself included, latch on to the old characters like Batman, Superman, Wonder Woman, Aquaman. I get it. You grew up with those characters. I really get it. Wolverine for Marvel, for me. But when he died and they made Laura the new Wolverine, I was on board. I wanted to see where this was going to go. And you know where it went?
Back to Logan being
Back
Wolverine.
to Logan.
Because the company couldn't handle it.
Money.
Yeah. I understand that too. From a business perspective, it's better probably for them to have Logan as Wolverine. But tell us some unique stories from him then. Not the same fucking my brain don't work too good. do harm things at things. Stories of Logan. Because that's basically where they always end up starting his stories at.
Every time he comes back from something, he's killing somebody. It never fails. Every new comic with Wolverine in it.
Sometimes
he's murdering someone.
Sometimes he just wakes up in the murder.
After murdering everything and is like, why? Where? What?
And that's fine as a Wolverine trope, but like the story is generally the same after that too.
Yeah. He realizes he was brainwashed, or a demon was in control of his body, or
that's why I like the story of after he loses his medal. The comic books I do actually have.
Yeah.
And he's like, well, I'm gonna go figure out who the fuck I am right now. Like
everything I thought I was, I might not be.
Not all the things that they did, I thought they did they do?
Yeah. So looping back, that was kind of a bit of a rant, and I apologize. Looping back,
you're a comic book fan, and you're apologizing for a rant.
Looping back to Heroes in Crisis. I really wanted Heroes in Crisis to be more than what it has been so far. I was really hoping that it would be like a deep dive into the psychology of a superhero, deconstructing some of the lesser heroes and showing the flaws in their human and showing them being human, and then showing how they became the heroes they are going to become. but that's not what it is. That hasn't, after the first issue, it's clearly where it wasn't going. It was an excuse to murder a bunch of side characters who you couldn't find the relevance to use anymore. Oh, but we have to make it worthwhile. So let's randomly pick 2 characters that we can kill. All right, well, what about a Flash? They always come back, right? All right, we need another disposable hero that people love. Hey, what about Green Arrow's sidekick? People love him for some reason. He's a drug addict. He's an alcoholic who's recovered from both.
Because he's a person.
People
you know, love him because he's a person.
He gets beyond the things that are his shortcomings. Yeah, that sounds like a great idea. Murder him and murder one of the Flashes. All right, which one of the Flash? We can't kill Barry again. You're right, but we did bring Wally back. Murder him because I don't like Jeff Johns.
Are you just sitting here complaining that they're picking people that people would care about? Or because they're still disposable?
They're still disposable.
Well, who not disposable would have been in Sanctuary?
You could have put, instead of Arsenal, you could have put...
I mean, this is still kind of a...
Kyle Rayner.
I'm sorry, did you say Kyle Ren?
Kyle Rayner. Look, you don't even know who that is, do you?
Kyle Rayner.
Yes. You're not a big super.
Hold on.
Not a big
Hold on.
character.
That sounds really familiar, but maybe just because I lived in Seattle. Mount Rainier.
That's fair. How many Green Lanterns do we have?
I don't know. 8,
Can you guess?
20? 32?
How many human Green Lanterns?
4?
Close.
There's Michael Scott. It's from The Office.
Okay.
I don't.
Jon Stewart.
Jon Stewart.
He's the black one.
Oh, he's the black one. I was thinking Daily Show, but okay.
Fair enough. Never made that connection. Hal Jordan.
I know that one.
Yeah.
Oh, I've heard of both of them.
Yeah. Guy Gardner.
You've talked about him before.
Kyle Rayner.
Kylo Ren.
Jessica Cruz. Simon Baz.
That
Teen
doesn't
Lantern.
sound like a human name.
He's human. Teen Lantern. They haven't revealed her actual name yet, but she's a teenage Green Lantern.
Oh, good. That's what we need. Someone who's a teenager using their imagination to harm things.
How many is that?
7?
That's 7. That is 7 Green Lanterns. All right.
Okay.
Hal is actually,
OG.
there's another one older than him, which is Alan Scott, but he's from the Golden Age, not the Silver Age. You got Hal, who's pretty much arguably the most powerful Green Lantern.
And the worst at the imagination part of it.
He literally took his willpower and forged a new ring from himself. Because he had lost his ring.
So he used the ring power without having the ring to use the power for the ring?
No, he took his amount of will that he possesses
Without
the lantern. Without the lantern. And forged a ring into existence.
That's amazing considering he can only hit people with like giant fists and planes and things like that.
Yeah. But you have all these Green Lanterns. You could have killed one of them. And arguably the easiest one and the one that would be, quote unquote, the most disposable would be Kyle. But no, they went with Arsenal. Which,
Arsenal's not necessarily
it pissed me off, which is exactly what it should have done.
Arsenal's not necessarily
that.
Arsenal's not necessarily a bad choice.
No, he wasn't. He was a good choice.
On your argument, like, there's definitely people who weren't going to be there.
Yeah.
Superman, Batman,
Wonder Woman,
Flash.
Barry.
Yeah, Barry the Flash, not Wally the
Flash
necessarily, because he was a sidekick at one point.
Exactly.
Do you think this is kind of a slap in the face to the people who are like, Wally's back now, everything's going to be better?
Yes.
Do you think that's the point of this story?
Yes.
Okay, I was clarifying what you were saying earlier.
I feel like this story was the editor, one of the editors going, yeah, fuck you guys. Your heroes should only be the heroes, not the sidekicks.
Well, no. I think that's a very.
Because who
I
wasn't?
don't want to
wasn't
call
at
you a toxic
Sanctuary?
fan, David.
Who wasn't at Sanctuary? Who
That's
was
nice.
injured?
That's nice. Listen to what I'm saying here.
Okay.
I don't want to call you a toxic
I
fan.
am. At this point right now, I am being one. And
Yes,
I admit
you are.
that.
I think that you're going much more malicious than what their intent probably is.
Probably.
More than likely,
More
they're
than
probably trying to make the point of changes can happen and it's okay.
If that's the truth, then let the old heroes go. Let Batman get married. Let him be happy with Selena Kyle. Let Superman raise his son.
They make money.
Make us care about other characters. There's an idea.
Nightwing has its own comic book.
Yeah, he was also shot in the head and should have been at Sanctuary, but he wasn't. You know why?
No, I don't know why.
Nightwing makes fucking money.
Does he? I don't know how popular he is.
He's at 50-something issues.
Is that a lot?
I mean,
that seems like
arguably,
1 year.
yes.
That seems like 1 year of
to
issues.
be fair, Batman just hit his 80th anniversary with his 1000th issue.
Yeah, but Batman's also been around for
80 years. 80 years.
Has it really been 80 years?
80 years.
When you said 80th anniversary, I was like,
Yeah. Yeah.
like, my brain just kind of skipped past that.
Yeah. 80th anniversary, 1000th issue for his comic.
He's the OG detective.
Actually, there's one older than him, but that's a side point. There's another detective that was the first detective for Detective Comics.
Is he still making comics?
He's still referenced in a lot of comics,
That
including
doesn't
the
count.
1000th issue of Batman.
That doesn't count for them.
But it just...
So here's the thing. Superman, they can't get rid of Superman because he's their Boy Scout.
Yes, he is.
And ironically, as willing as Marvel may be to kind of ignore Captain for a while,
Yeah.
As their Boy Scout, like Superman has to be there.
Yes, he does.
And I mean, like
Wonder Woman
who would
has to be
replace him in that level of power? Because Superboy is not a good choice.
Superboy Prime is not a good choice. You're right. But his son, given enough time, or his clone,
but
Connor
OG,
Kent.
but Superboy Prime is OG Superboy,
No,
isn't he?
no. Connor Kent is OG Superboy, the Metropolis Kid.
Are you sure?
Yes. Superboy Prime came up after Metropolis Kid. The one that took over during the reign of Superman.
Well, yeah, but it was like it was like his little cousin or something.
It is
like that,
a
wasn't it?
clone of him mixed with the DNA of Lex Luthor.
Oh, I'm thinking of not Wonder Woman, but Supergirl.
Who
That's
is
his cousin. A
cousin.
lot of people don't realize that there was in the Christopher Reeves time there was a Supergirl movie that he was in briefly as a cameo. It was a really good movie. It was a movie.
But I mean, your argument, yes, I can logically understand your
don't
argument.
get me wrong.
They
Like
make money.
I'm of the mindset. Like if these
make
writers
me-
are half as good as they probably want to claim them as being, then they can make these stories with different characters.
Yeah, you can make me care about Jason Todd.
We can actually have Gohan take up the mantle of
Yeah.
the Super Saiyan and be okay.
Yeah. You can make me care about Laura Kinney. You can make me care about, the second, third, fourth generations of the X-Men.
At the same time, they have for some of these things. Red Hood has come up and become something. Nightwing has come up and become something. Damien's got a ways to go.
He's working on it, though.
With this bomb and everything. There's Wally.
Yeah.
Like
Wally's
there's
a
plenty
great
that have,
example that
but all it's really doing
has
is increasing their library size and not right. It's just making the stories more complex because there's more heroes to potentially involve.
Yes. Which I understand culling heroes at certain points to, lessen your weight of writing needs. Like taking out, side characters and, things like that. I can understand that. But it just We'll see where this ends. We have 2 more issues. we'll see if I'm right that it was Wally that killed everybody and for what reason. Yeah. So with my last bit of time, I'm going to
The
talk
last
about
10 minutes.
Yeah.
You didn't even talk about really. Well, I guess you did talk about what happened in here. Wally was insane. Everybody else was also crazy.
Yep.
Transformers.
It's from IDW. It's a new retelling of the Transformers. Best way to describe it. It's the first 2 issues are out, and it's taking place before the war, before the concept of the Decepticons have become a thing. Because in this, Megatron refers to himself and those who follow him as Ascenticons, which assumptively ties into the fact that they're trying to ascend past the ruling laws that have governed them for however long.
I think what they're trying to say is that they're ascending as a people to some better way of doing things.
Yeah.
Not just that they're above the law.
Optimus isn't Optimus yet. He's still Orin Pax. Bumblebee is mentioned in it. He's actually one of the main characters. He's showing around Rumble, who
Of course he is.
becomes one of Soundwave's tape decks.
Dude, once they finish up the pre-war story, Bumblebee's going to have his own comic book series.
I can almost guarantee it. Like, there's already, in just the 2 issues, they've laid seeds, so there's a lot of backstory between him and Windblade. From when Bumblebee was a scout, but has since moved on to search and rescue. So as Windblade, Bumblebee, and Rumble get to where they're going, because Bumblebee's supposed to be taking Rumble to meet Brainstorm, a guy who's basically going to teach Rumble about Energon and Energon convergence and all that stuff. The stuff that fuels the Transformers.
Mm-hmm.
They get there, the doors open. So Windblade walks in with her weapon drawn because there had been reports that maybe a group called the Rise had been attempting to sabotage the converters out there. They tell Rumble to stay right there, wait by the door, don't move. Rumble hears a noise around the side of the building, so he steps around the side of the building and finds Brainstorm murdered on the side of the building. Mind you, this is the first murder that has taken place on Cybertron since before Bumblebee was forged.
Okay.
So this shakes Bumblebee to the core. Like this is madness to him that a murder has occurred.
No, this is Sparta.
So, Prowl and Chroma, 2 of the heads of Chroma's the head of the security department, and Prowl is her best detective, show up. And, she tells Bumblebee and Rumble to go ahead to the next mentor that Rumble's supposed to meet. Just stay in contact in case she needs to talk to him. Bumblebee's like, yeah, okay. I already called Wheeljack, and he said it was okay if we showed up early. So they leave. Prowl's like, so what do we know about Rumble? He did find the body alone. And Windblade goes off on him.
I mean, seems like a good question to me.
That was Prowl's thing. We have to ask all the questions.
Right? We've never dealt with murder before. It's been a long time.
Yeah. So that's pretty much Rumble finding the body is the end of the first issue. The second issue picks up with Chroma and Prowl showing up and everybody talking. They go on. Bumblebee I feel kind of bad for him. Bumblebee drops Rumble off with Wheeljack, and Wheeljack is just that overly enthusiastic engineer. You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, I think so.
He's that. And poor Rumble is not ready for this. Like, Rumble almost gets electrocuted. Like, there's like a montage of a couple of panels of him working with Wheeljack. He almost gets electrocuted. He's like, and Wheeljack's just like, huh? Oh, yeah. One where he's covered head to toe in like oil or something. And Wheeljack's like, yeah, go over there. Bumblebee shows up and he's like, hopefully Wheeljack didn't melt your processors already. And then they turned one of Cybertron's moons into an energon converter of just like the natural waves of energon that exist in space.
Okay.
And the converter is about to open its sails or wings to draw in a large chunk of a wave that's coming through. And Rumble is like, this is the most beautiful thing I've ever seen. He's newly forged. And Bumblebee's like, yeah, but Bumblebee's like, yeah, there's a lot of other things out there. And he looks up and he's watching. He goes, actually, you know what, Rumble? You're right. You are completely right.
Okay.
Talking about how beautiful.
Yeah. No, it just seems weird that he was like, no, there's other stuff. And he's like, no, you're right.
I think he was taking in the fact of it in contrast to what they had just seen, pretty much. It flashes back.
This is kind of like life versus
the extinguishment of a spark. It goes to Megatron giving his speech in Tarn. It's another smaller city on Cybertron.
Isn't it all just one giant city?
No, actually, there are wastelands, there are forests, jungle type things. It's a whole planet.
I mean,
usually
what we've seen for Cybertron previously was it's all
usually you only
tech.
see Iacon, which is the central city, the hub, basically. But he's down in Tarn giving a speech, and he gets shot at from one of the buildings. And he doesn't jump behind people. He yells, "Get down, get out of the way." And jumps off the stage and then leaps towards the building. And when he crashes through the window that the shots came from, he is just going off. You want to fight? Come on. Very didn't know this was about to happen. And now he's pissed something happened. There's nobody there, though.
So somebody who got the shit out of Dodge quick?
Yeah. Now, most people would go, well, it was probably something Megatron set up to make himself appear as though the Autobots or whoever were trying to take him out. It's possible.
It's possible especially because of his reaction where his immediate words were for them to be okay type of thing.
Yeah.
He's going to make him look good.
From what I've also seen in the interaction between him and Optimus in the first book or first comic, he hasn't gone off the cliff yet.
Exactly.
So to speak. So
he wants the heart of the people right now.
He still cares, or at least he didn't seem like he was putting on a show in front of Optimus because it was just him and Optimus in the room.
Or he was putting on the show he thought Optimus expected or expected.
Yeah. I feel like the rise that they've mentioned a couple of times, they refer to it as a more extreme version of the Ascenticons. I mean, sure, yeah, more than likely it's going to come out that Megatron was actually leading both the Ascenticons and the Rise in an attempt to make himself appear more, friendly and, coercible to the masses of Cybertron versus the controlling, almost dictatorship that the Autobots seem to have over everything. They control the security firm, the security guys. They have people in the engineering sector. They have people here. They have people there. And most of the people in all of those positions are higher ups. The Autobots control Cybertron, basically.
Yeah, but maybe not with that
with
in
an
mind.
iron fist, but
Well, I mean, what I mean is maybe not with
Iron
that in
fist.
mind.
I'm
Those
sorry.
iron hide. But what I'm saying is maybe that they just don't have that in mind. Like they're not like purposefully ruling.
Yeah,
They just happen to get those
it
better
happens to fall.
positions.
It happens to the dominoes fell that way. They didn't place them
Well,
that way.
isn't Autobot like? Isn't that like an affiliation that you acquire? Like
It's a political party.
well, that's what I mean.
Yeah, it's a political party. Like
That's-
Autobots, the Ascenticons, the Primals, the Rise, the Revolutionaries.
so just because everybody in a higher position
happens to be an Autobot.
is an Autobot doesn't mean they were when they became that position.
This is true, but from an outsider perspective,
Looks
if
bad.
your president is one political party, the controlling Congress is the same
Oh yeah,
political
no,
party.
no. I'm not saying you're wrong here.
Things can be skewed from your vision. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah, I mean it doesn't necessarily mean it's a bad thing. It just means that you have, a focus.
Yeah, but I mean, like
And-
Megatron said,
Your team has a focus.
like Megatron said in the first issue to Optimus, because Optimus is like, we've lived through the same times. We've seen the same things. How can we be so different? Megatron's like, yes, we've seen the same things, but that's not how life is measured. Life is measured in how we've lived the differences.
How the experience affected.
So I kind of hope Megatron isn't the leader of the Rise. I hope it comes out that, someone else was. Be it Soundwave, Starscream, be it somebody, another Decepticon.
Soundscream or Starwave.
Or, what's his name? Shockwave. I would prefer it not to be Megatron. Just for a more interesting story perspective.
I mean, it
think.
becomes Megatron basically.
Eventually, yeah. Because it pretty much all consolidates to either you're an Autobot or you're a Decepticon.
No, it all consolidates to either you're a Decepticon or you're dead.
And
In
then
his
later-
eyes.
And then later it's Maximal and Predacon. But, that's later. Well, I suppose that's the end of the episode.
Please like, comment, follow, and share. And also, more importantly, thank you for listening.
Take care.
Bye.